Good evening, Lion Golf Academy members and guests from the Reddit community. Welcome to episode 4 of our swing analysis program. How this program works is if you are having issues with your swing or you feel a little bit lost, just go ahead and email me. I'll leave the email down the link below. 2 videos, one from down the line, such as this one here, and then one from the front of view. That helps me help you. If you're only limited to one, I'll take it. I'll do my best. But keep in mind, both views really help out, because what we don't see on one side, on the other side, we can definitely put the piece of puzzle together. And your swing might look beautiful from one side, and then from the other side, different story. So if you would like me to do my best job for you, two videos is perfect. Now, if you want to go above and beyond, get a front view, but that's a little dangerous. We don't want any broken cameras or stuff like that. Again, keep in mind that this is not swing advice. This is basically what I see in the swing that prohibits emotions, maybe causes you some distance issues as well as contact issues. I really do suggest working with a PGA professional in your neighborhood. If you don't know anybody, I'm fairly connected in the industry, and I can try and put my feelers out for you in your neck of the woods to see if we get somebody that is worth the investment. Just keep in mind that swing tips are helpful. However, do they apply to you? Most likely not. We're so individual. We have different range of motions, different flexibilities, different issues with our past in terms of injuries. So, my lower back doesn't want to be in positions that some of these tips tell me to be in. So you really have to have a knowledgeable coach to guide you through the swing change process. So that's my quick disclaimer. So if any of my quote-unquote students for the minute decide to try this, and I get a few emails saying, hey, I tried this, but I'm starting to shank every golf ball, be it as it will, this is just good-hearted advice coming from a good place. So let's start with the first student. I believe his name is Kyle. I didn't get much history from him, which is fine. But if you do email me stuff, just tell me your quick handicap and basically any major issues I need to be aware of in terms of injuries or range of motion, so I can diagnose it. So let's just take a look at the swing. I just pulled this up here. Let's see how the range of motion is and also the swing in general. Okay, wow. Okay, Kyle, you do a pretty good job with that motion. I do see some setup issues right off the bat. I do see a little rerouting issue. So I'm curious to see, if this was my evaluation with you as a student, I'd want to know if you had any previous lessons, if you're self-taught, if you're YouTube taught, if you are, how much time you practice, how much time you play. All these things play a major role in how a swing is developed. But with all this rerouting that happens, you do a pretty good job of getting that club down the plane. Nice, calm lower leg. You don't see a lot of jumping up at the ball, which is quite common for some amateurs that really try and jump into the ball and lose their spine angle. You do a pretty good job of maintaining your spine angle and squaring that club face up. Now, I noticed that ball was a, well-struck golf ball. Slight pull, maybe a little bit of a draw in it, but pretty solid. I would say, be curious to know if you actually did a drill with the, right elbow to the body drill, with the head cover or a towel or something, because I see that in a lot of students when they get that right elbow way too low. And from here, they're kind of trapped. They have nowhere to go, but you do a good job of rerouting that arm around your body and down in the plane line. So this is a touchy one because clearly you can do it and do it pretty well. Now, is this a once in a blue moon shot, or is this something that you can do over and over again? This is a question I would have to ask you in person. So I'm just assuming that this is your everyday shot. Okay, let's just work on the good assumptions. By the way, I like to try and guess where you guys are from. So just judging by the scenery, not that I'm a tree expert, but it looks like it's definitely south of the Canadian border. I'm going to guess Washington State. I don't know if that's a mountain back there. I'm going to guess Washington, maybe Oregon. So let me know if I'm right. Just curious. But in terms of your setup, let's take a look here. So I see a little bit of this S going on here. I'm not sure what iron that is. It looks like a mid to high iron. But I'd like to see your feet a little bit further away from you so you don't look so backloaded here. So more underneath you. If I would draw a line here, we can see the very, very back of your shoe just goes through your pockets. I'd like to see at least the balls of your feet, or excuse me, the heels of your feet be where that pocket is. So if you can just scoot your back a little bit, it'll straighten you out, so you don't have to create a lot of room here, and then you don't have to reroute so far inside as well. Now this reroute, it's acceptable. There's nothing really wrong with that. You can see you're matching your spine, so there's your spine angle, and the club face is fairly close to that spine angle, so it's a good solid turn. It's just a little concerning that reroute happens so soon, but again, you do a good job. You see the left arm is really low, really tucked into it. As a result, your club shaft is not quite settled yet. It's not crossing the line because your hands are very low. But you can try and get some drills to help you with that. The only problem is if you do correct that top position, now your transfer is going to be a little bit different too. So it's a domino effect, and then you're going to have to work on your transfer motion down, and then your release points, and then so this is a touchy one, because if you really wanted to change your motions, it's going to be two options for you. So if this was me, you do an evaluation, I'd give you two options. Option number one, you grind this swing. You hit tons of golf balls and you just rely on this swing, and it looks like it can be repeatable. It doesn't look like it's an exaggerated motion where you have to compensate. Now if you had a really big exaggeration motion and you're trying to play competitive golf, okay, we'd have to sit down and go over some options. The second option for you is a total rebuild. Now the rebuild is a painful process because you have to find a coach that can help you, that has the same visions, that can do a range of motion test on you, that can do flexibility test, all that stuff, and then find out your hand-eye coordination, do some skills assessments that way, also assess your short game and your putting. But this is a full swing assessment, so you can do that. You can talk to the professional and figure out the best way of you to resolve that. I'd say the quickest you can get this done, if you're very methodical on the process, you can probably get it done in 1 to 2 years, depending on how much history you carry into it. Now, if you've only been playing for a few months, it might be 6 months to a year. But if you've been playing for 20 years, we've got 20 years of unlearning for your neurological system and your muscle memory to fight that. So the longer you play, the more you have to deal with. But that back view, aside from standing a little bit further back and a little bit more upright, I wouldn't really focus too much on it. You do a really good job of holding your spine angle, so you can see there's not much shaft hopping going on there. It's pretty close to your start position. I love the fact that you have great visibility between your arms and your right thigh. I love the fact that your right foot is down at impact. Man, if I could teach that to everybody, we would see the national handicap go down. And look at that, there's no forced release. This is a great turn. So from this point of view, nothing, change nothing. So let me pull up the front view. All right, front view now. Okay, a little different story here. So very narrow stance. Let's take a look at the swing in full motion here. There goes that right arm sucking back. Okay, I'll tell you what, for the amount of rerouting that I see, what's really impressive is typically when people reroute, their body gets really exaggerated. But look at your body. Your body's pretty steady. There's no real up and down motion. You're shifting your weight to the right side. You shift it back left. It is a little bit top heavy on that shift. But again, you might have to be doing that because what you're doing is you're trying to turn back around and get your arms back in front of you. So you're dominating your turn with your shoulders, not so much your hips. But at impact, your shoulders are pretty square to us, which is kind of what you want. You don't want those shoulders to be open. That's a misconception. The hips should be a little bit open. The shoulders should be pretty square at impact. And then they open up as they cross over to your left side of your body and they pull back up. Here you can see there is a little bit of a flip issue. And again, that's just a compensation move. So toe is very high up here. You lose some of that angle that you can hopefully try and retain, but a lot of that is from you rerouting back over. Once you reroute your hands, they're more active, they're more involved. Your body can't really be as involved because of the rerouting motion, and you sacrifice some distance. But as long as you can do it repetitively, how much do you really want to invest in this change? My recommendation is either a total rebuild, or just groove the swing and make some subtle changes. But great thing I can see here, from impact to post-impact, now you're turning. That is a beautiful follow-through in terms of connection. You can see there's that triangle, you're still connected. And I love this footwork. So you have really good footwork, really good range of motion. I mean, you're definitely flexible. It's a tough one, my friend. Quite honestly, go see a pro. That's all I can tell you. I mean, I try to give my best advice, but this is the only time we're going to see each other, work with each other. Go see a pro. Go find a PGA pro to work with. If you can't find one, email me or just in the comment section. Tell me where you are, and I'll help you find somebody. But invest in your game. That's all I got to say. All right, thanks for the videos. Let's go to the second video. All right, second student coming up here. Thanks again for submitting. This is Richard. So I didn't get much information from Richard, other than just, average golfer, plays, I think he said 15 times a year, which you sound more like a teaching pro. So I don't think I play that much. I think I'm lucky to get out once every couple of months, but I'm around golf all the time, so I still love what I do. Okay, so setup, pretty strong grip. I like the slow motion there. We should put some music back. Put some music in the background while you take the swing. All right, let's see if we can skip a little ahead. I know you said in your email too, you're sorry you couldn't edit it, but we'll do it here. Okay, so strong grip. Both lines are pointing at the right side, which is good for some people. In order to get that grip to perform correctly at impact, your right shoulder needs to be tilted really far under, which will push your hands out in front of the golf ball, and you're going to stop that release. So stronger the grip you have, the less you release with your hands, and the more you tilt and turn. So this is good for somebody that's very flexible, very strong, can hold their spine angle. If you're not flexible and strong, can hold your spine angle, I wouldn't recommend this, because you'll be fighting just blocks all day long or rope hooks. So that's what you may be experiencing. I'm not quite sure. As you take that club back, let's take a look at your width of arc for a second here. Okay, clubs are parallel, so that's pretty nice. I mean, you can see that turn. I mean, you've got this great lean going on the right side, so you're trying to get the weight shift to the right side. Looking pretty good. Okay, body starting to turn more. I wish you would stop right there, quite honestly. You could probably hit the ball pretty far from that position. Let's see if we go back first. So I'm going to do this, because I have a feeling that this might start tilting the other way. That's a horrible line. Let's just delete that one right now. It looked like one of my 2-foot putts I keep missing. All right, so there's that lean back. We call that the power V, in case you want to know. Now, that's not a requirement, but I see a lot of people get in that position. And there, oh, yep, there it is. So now that power V went from looking like this to all of a sudden, now you've got some other power V going on here. So you got to break at that left knee. And that's just caused by that very slight motion from here to there. You see how your upper body kind of leans into it a little bit? And now it's very small, but that right there transfers your motion. So remember, transfer is where one piece of the swing stops and another one starts. And the downswing is typically momentum based, so it's just going to follow where the momentum pulls you. So if you're very top heavy in that subtle shift here, if you look at your left knee, so your left knee is in a good position there. As you keep turning, that subtle shift, what happens to that left knee? It starts breaking in to absorb the weight that's moving towards the target. So now the weight is kind of shifted into the knee. So a lot of this is not pushed down here instead of staying on this right foot. So the right foot should be ready to push everything into that left knee. Now it's kind of prematurely sitting on that left knee, and there's nowhere for it to go. So you're kind of stuck, and now your left knee starts to spin. It's carrying all that power with it, and there's not much into it. As a result, you don't really tilt like you should, because it prematurely went to your knee, so there's nothing to push. You can't push off of anything and get those hips to drive. When your hips drive this way, what typically happens to keep you standing is your right shoulder will dip down just out of nature, and you'll start getting that V going into the golf ball, and you'll be hitting it on the upswing to get your launch angle to be about 4 or 5 degrees. So I would suspect your launch angle is probably a -1 to 2 degrees, maybe even more some occasions when your hands get flippy. And here you're stuck, and now you try to jump at it, but it's too late. The ball's already gone. You're trying to push whatever weight you have left. You do have that nice little lean back here, but it's too late now. It's more of a recovery, and you've kind of just slapped at that golf ball and then done what you can. You still get through the golf ball pretty nicely. Hands aren't as active because of that strong grip. So that strong grip, you cannot really release the power. You have to create a lot of that power with your tilting and your turning, which you don't do because of that extended turn. So you can see how it's a domino effect. There's no magic move in golf, but it's whatever magic move you can produce with your motions and your set makeup that can provide your magic move. So I think from that view, hopefully you can see that some of this is an issue. So maybe weaken the grip a little bit, try and get used to your hands getting back into it, and then also try and eliminate that extra, we don't need this. We just need to stay here and then turn. Okay, so let's look at it from the down the line. So down the line, first of all, let's try and guess where you're from. All right, let's look. I got to brush up on my tree knowledge. Okay, so I'm just basing it on the clouds. Well, you're wearing shorts, but that doesn't mean anything. I see we teach Canadians now, and they think, 30 degrees is shorts day. I'm just going to throw a wild guess out here. Somewhere down in the southeast region. Thinking, East Texas, Alabama, Carolinas. See from you, just comment me. Let me know if I'm right or even close. You might turn around and say, no, I'm in like Alaska. Okay, a little bit disconnected with the arms and hands. So you see you pulling your hands and going up and away, and then you're going to try and suck that club face back to get it somewhere in your plane. So a little disconnected. Left arm should be a little bit lower as it takes that club back. Turn is suffering a little bit, so maybe focus on the left shoulder going down and turning more as your first initial motion to help you get your hands more closer to your body, so you're not really reaching out. Top position, club face is relatively square. Okay, good. There goes that. See, now you're just trying to right yourself up. And you can tell from here too. Look at how straight your spine is. So all that extra rerouting, look at that. There's no way to strike a golf ball on the upswing when all you're doing is coming into the golf ball. Instead of being here and turning under, you're doing this and trying to turn. So your momentum is going this way instead of pivoting around and turning. So definitely, I check your range of motion. I check how flexible you are. Some simple TPI testing can be done to see if you can improve your range of motion. So if there's a pro around your neighborhood, and some of them are TPI certified, that's Tyler's Performance Institute, they can put you through a quick range of motion testing to see if you have any weaknesses. Even such simple things as the rotator cuff, if you cannot rotate back enough, you can't get into that certain position to come from inside. So as much as you think you would like to, if your body is not able to do it, you can't do it unless you want to pop some joints out of place. So recommended from this point of view. Work on the posture. The other side, hopefully I think it made more sense to you. This view just shows you how much you stand up as a result of that domino effect from start to finish. But like I always say, go talk to a PGA pro, somebody reputable that knows what they're doing. Really invest in your game, because this is just my interpretation. They might look at that and see something completely different, but I guarantee you they have a lot more experience than other people that can really help you affect your game in a positive way. So thanks for the submission, and let me know where you're from. I'm saying southeast somewhere. Let's go to the next one. I have Quan. So Quan is a brand new golfer. I believe he said I forgot the specifics, but it's anywhere from 1 month to 4 months. So it's a fairly new golfer. So welcome to golf, Quan. Glad you're here. Thank you for sending this to me. Let me get this right off the bat. You're going to be playing for 1 month to 4 months. You 100% need to go work with somebody. If I'm sure a lot of people here would push you in that direction too, because if you go on for 4, 5, 6 years and develop all these bad habits, and not necessarily bad habits that can put you into compromising positions, you're going to take about 4 to 5 years to unlearn all that, and then an additional few years to put yourself in better positions. So the sooner you can get help, the better. And as much as I love the users on Reddit, that's not the place for help. As much as good-hearted they are, you can get advice all day long and apply all that advice, and maybe 1 to 2% of that would fit you. No matter, even Golf Tips magazine, you look at Golf Tips, it's all great advice, but does it apply to you? So you look pretty young, flexible. I think you can get into a lot of good positions. So really invest in yourself and go and get a series of lessons, even if it's group lessons, just to help you get some motivation through this process. Now I'm going to guess where you're from. This looks similar. I'm going to say Long Beach area. maybe South Bay, somewhere Southern California, maybe Long Beach, maybe Huntington, but that building looks familiar. Definitely South Bay because of that smog. But let me know in the comments. Start off, this is a really tough view. It's called the worm view, and it's really hard unless you're a worm to see what's going on, so I'll do my best. That front view would have been nice to see where that ball position is, but just so you know, ball position should be more in the center when you're learning. Keep everything neutral. Grip looks fairly neutral just by looking at the placements and what I can see. Your address is, fairly good. I'd say the shoulders are open, which means they're pointing left of your target. Your hips, it's hard to tell with that shirt, but they look like they're pretty square to your feet. So a little bit of alignment issues. Let's just take a look at this motion. Okay, so we can see a lot of what we see similar to now. Keep in mind, been only playing for a month to 4 months. It's pretty impressive that you can do all this. And I'm not sure where you learned golf. It could be very well YouTube videos, and that's great. Try and absorb as much information as you can, but just be careful of what you apply to yourself with your body type and your mechanics. So let's just start from the takeaway. And again, I'm not sure if this is the camera view, but I'm assuming it's not. If we put the camera more along your foot line, this would definitely be outside. Club face is somewhat matching the spine, maybe a little toe up, which is fine. Many great players play toe up to toe down, so this can be different. Left shoulder's tilting a little bit too much. I see the left knee buckling in a little bit too much, and I do think that you do turn a lot as we take this club back. So right about here is where you should try and stop your turn, but you keep going all the way back. And again, this is momentum that's going to pull you, and you can see your upper body, similar to the gentleman 2 videos ago, is as he's take this club back, 1 video ago, it starts to pull you in the wrong direction. And look how straight that right leg is, and very bent left leg, which means your hip tilt is probably so extreme to the left that your weight is also stuck on your left side. You can see you're very toe heavy, your heels coming up on the ground, so now your weight's not only stuck on the left side, but it's also stuck on the toes, so there's no real direction to push off of other than a rerouting and restructuring yourself so you don't fall over. So keep that in mind. We can see there's the motion. So you try to turn. I bet you've heard that you need to turn, you need to turn, you need to turn. So when you don't have anything to push off of, what do you have to do? You'll have to turn. So we have this look here where you're turning, but are you really doing anything? In this view, you're not really doing anything because you're not pushing off of anything. What little tiny power you had in your toes is basically still there because your right foot's just coming up as a result of your hip turning. You're not pushing. So that first video where the gentleman had his right foot on the ground is good because he's keeping his right foot planted, he's staying connected to Mother Earth, and he's pushing whatever power he has stolen from Mother Earth back through his body and into the golf ball eventually. Where this is you just kind of like you're spinning out. And the right hip is spinning around, and to contribute that, the right shoulder spins around and comes more outside to in. So I would expect on your short irons, you pull a golf ball, which for you means it goes hard left. With the longer the iron becomes, you start seeing more of a block to a fade, and with the drivers, you might just see either rope hook or banana ball. Excuse me. So a lot of tilting needs to happen. That's not happening, meaning the right shoulder needs to go more under as opposed to around. But a lot of this stems from, poor posture, poor backswing positions, poor weight distribution. So, don't worry about impact. Don't worry about arms and hands yet. Don't really worry about striking the ball as solid as you think you need to. You need to focus on core fundamentals, making sure your setup's correctly, making sure you're gripping the club correctly, your ball position's correct, both far away from you and also in relation to your feet. Your weight distribution in your feet need to be correct. How you distribute that weight evenly throughout the swing needs to be corrected. Then you can focus on retainment of the spine as you take that downswing, and then how your shoulders tilt in relation to that spine angle. So there's a lot that you have to worry about. Trust me in this. Please, if there's one thing you can do that'll save you a headache and a lot of time and a lot of money, is invest into lessons right away and get with a program. Again, if you don't know anybody in your area, leave the area that you live in the section below, and I can really help you out. I can connect with somebody in your neighborhood and find the person for you, even if it's group lessons. Okay, because you can really see there's a lot of issues coming over the top, and just like a magic trick, now you see your hands, and now you don't. And all of a sudden, I can't even see that shaft, and this is just past impact. I can see both feet, so that's a lot of turn. And look at how wide open your shoulders are. I mean, there should never be this wide. Your whole body shouldn't be facing the target 1 or 2 frames past impact. That's just way too much rotation. And you do a pretty good job of staying steady, though, so I'll give you that. You're definitely a well-balanced individual. So I know you said in your notes you're an athlete and you play a lot of sports. That's another reason to get lessons, because the better athlete you are, the more you can get away with poor positions, because you have good hand-eye coordination and you have some sort of ability to keep yourself standing steady without falling over. But that's about all I can help you with without getting too detailed. But please, all of you, work with the pro when you make these changes. Please don't send me an email in a couple of weeks saying that you took my advice and all of a sudden you started shanking it and you hit somebody's house. I'm not responsible for that. But other than that, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support for this. If you know anybody that needs help, links below. Send an email with both sides, and I will see you on the next episode, episode 5. Fairways and greens, everybody.